Hello, welcome back to the Underhand Free Throw. My name is Simon. Today, me and my co-host Ian are going to be continuing our mid-season little series here that we're doing on who we think the contending teams in the NBA are at this point. Who's ready for the playoffs to start, ready to really go for it and try to make a run this year. This team we're going to be talking about today is the Denver Nuggets. We just did the Brooklyn Nets a couple days ago, and we have 4 more teams to talk about. All those videos are going to be up next week, so make sure you like and subscribe. Stay tuned for those. But today we're talking about the Nuggets. It's obviously a team that pretty much everyone who likes just watching basketball for the sake of basketball rather than rooting for a specific fan or team loves to watch. There's such a unique offensive style and honestly just a joy. But does that style work in the playoffs? Well, me and Ian are going to talk about it. So let's get into our team here, the Denver Nuggets. Okay, let's move on to my team that I had in the number 5 spots. Just narrowly behind the Brooklyn Nets, I had the Denver Nuggets as contenders. Are we on the same page here?
No, so far off. Couldn't be more opposite.
You don't have the Nuggets as contenders.
I do have the Nuggets as contenders, but
just higher than this.
I don't have them in the 5 spot. Yeah, I have them a little bit higher than that. Maybe a lot bit higher than that.
I will too, depending on the matchups, because I think the Nuggets match up incredibly well against a likely finals opponent if they make it to the finals. But they may have some issues in actually getting there, but we'll see. Anyway, the Nuggets...
Hey, Phoenix doesn't make the playoffs.
Well, yeah. The Nuggets, their offense is awesome, right? Are they tops in the league in offense now? They were just a hair behind the Celtics a couple days ago. I think they may be number 1 now. They're just like shooting insanely efficient from 3, thanks to Jokic, right? And their offense creating so many open shots. The main issue I just have with them is rim protection, and I kind of had this as a bit of an upside play because I think that the Nuggets, if they can improve that, whether it's through trade, whether it's through giving Christian Braun a larger role, whatever it takes, right? If they can improve, I mean, they don't even necessarily have to improve their actual rim protection numbers. I don't know how likely those are to go up, but if they can pull a Miami Heat or something and just like not allow players to get to the rim as often. Like the Warriors are really, really great at this. This is one thing their defense is awesome at. They don't actually allow very many shots at the rim. If the Nuggets could just get there, I'd be a lot more on board with their contender status.
I think I have a similar note of just like they're simply a bad rim protecting team, and there is no answer on their roster. Like looking up and down, like their best defenders are not rim protectors. Like Aaron Gordon, Bruce Brown. Aaron Gordon is he their best rim protector? Like, I don't know. He's not like that's not the kind of defender he is. I mean, he's okay. If he's a secondary or tertiary rim protector, your defense is probably elite. But if he's your main rim protector, that's not great. KCP, Bruce Brown, they can put a lot of size out there, but they're vulnerable at the rim. And that shows up in the stats too. It's not like they are one of the worst. They're the worst. They're one of the worst rim protecting teams.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I think they've improved a bit from the bottom. I believe the Pelicans were there last time I checked, but they're down there.
Yeah, 26th. They're 26th in opponent shooting efficiency at the rim. Not great, but that is like by far their main weakness. I think that the Nuggets have a terrifying half-court offense.
Oh yeah, no, and I'm with you there.
I know that right now there's other teams that they're top of the league in offense. There's a lot of teams that are close. I think when we get into the playoffs, we're going to see a lot of those teams lose some of their efficiency, and the Nuggets are going to be like lasered in being like, no, this is what we're built for. There's no taking away the Nuggets like transition game and reducing their offensive efficiency. There's no fat to trim on the Nuggets. Like they have the most dangerous, difficult to deal with style of offense, and I think they are going to just shred some teams in the playoffs. Just like they're number one in the league, despite the fact that Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. have been in like warm up mode the whole season, and
Yeah.
encouragingly have been improving, despite like starting the year as basically both of them being like negative players on offense. Denver's still just like, no, it doesn't really matter. Like Jokic and four random dudes is going to produce like a number one offense. Is going to produce a top 10 offense in the NBA. So if these guys keep rounding into form and this team stays healthy, I just think like they haven't even hit their ceiling. The other thing I like about them is that they like their defense has just been steadily improving. They've been a little bit less mistake prone, as well as their bench lineups improving at the same time. Like they had these two big weaknesses at the beginning of the season. Their defense was garbage and the most mistake prone defense in the NBA, and they didn't have a single bench lineup that worked. Now they have like they're figuring out how to put a lot of size in their bench units, and that's kind of like stopping the bleeding.
Yeah.
And they're pretty much a neutral defensive team at this point. They're around league average on defense, which means they've been above league average on defense to climb out of that like they were bottom five for the first third of the season. So I think just like if this, I expect I expect the offense to only get better, and I just think like by the end of the season, the Nuggets are just going to be like, oh my god, this team is a terror.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see if or what they'll do at the trade deadline, or if they even need to do anything. But I guess the main things that would probably improve the Nuggets' chances are Jamal Murray continuing to get better as an off the dribble jump shooter,
Yeah.
and Michael Porter Jr. just continuing to be a little bit less lost on defense.
Michael Porter Jr.'s defense has actually been trending up really strong the last handful of games I've watched in the Nuggets. Like he's he's the kind of guy that like you just need to get him to do a couple things right on defense, and then his like size and athleticism comes into play. So the fact that he's
Yeah.
just tightened up his rotations and been this like 6'11" body that rotates into the paint and injects some athleticism has really boosted their defense overall. I still don't have him as like a plus defender overall, but I think he's the kind of player that you can find it. It's not hard to find a defensive role for him if you have the right personnel around them. I mean, spoiler alert, I've got the Nuggets number one. I think like they're my championship favorite.
Wow.
I just think that offense is going to be non-negotiable for teams in the playoffs. Obviously, there's some things that could prevent them from getting there if the defense flatlines, if there's a injury that goes for anybody. But I think Jokic on a good team is just going to be like, they're going to be playing other teams in series, and it's going to be tight, and the other team's going to have elite defense, and Denver's just going to have the best offensive basketball player that I've ever seen, and the other team is not going to have that.
Winners of 9 out of their last 10. So yeah, they've been excellent as of late.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's crazy. Nikola Jokic actually has the best defensive rating on the team, as well as the best offensive rating on the team.
I mean, he does some things well on defense, but one of them is not rim protection, and like he's part of the reason they're bad at that. But Nikola Jokic is surprisingly fine. Like if he comes up to the level on the screen, he's not getting burned a lot. Like you just don't want Jokic in space in that kind of drop coverage. It's like you're either yielding, he's like going to be a bit slow, or he's going to give up. He's going to give up that short mid-range jump shot too much. Like you want to keep him out of that. So like. But he doesn't die on like isolations on the perimeter, and he's clever. He's got good hands. He's not like, I don't know what the defensive stats behind Jokic is besides like obviously, he grabs a lot of rebounds and he's got good hands and stuff like that. But he's not bad. He's just like he's their center and they have a big rim protection problem. So he does have to be accountable for some of that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. The main guy who's kind of like a big standout net negative on the team who's playing any significant amount of minutes is Bones. But I kind of wonder if that's just because like he's the only guy trying to keep the Nuggets offensive even vaguely afloat whenever Jokic is on the bench. So he's kind of put on an island there.
I'm kind of on team like bench Bones Highland in the playoffs. And I was high on Bones Highland in the draft. I loved him as a rookie, but like it is painful sometimes to watch Guys see him, and all of a sudden their confidence turns them into a better player.
Their eyes turn into dinner plates, and so you just
Yeah,
kind of want
like
Jamal Murray to kind of run the show whenever Jokic is out of the game.
yeah, Jamal Murray. I don't know, run some like pick and pop with like Aaron Gordon and Michael Porter Jr. Like Bruce Brown can handle. I'd rather they just like get a little bit more defensive. I also think Jokic is going to play crazy minutes. I don't like. I'm not saying like you need to completely. I think his role needs to be shrunk a little bit in the playoffs because they don't have the defensive personnel to benefit from Bones Highland's offensive boost that he can provide. Use him or think about matchups. Think about like when I put Bones out there, how's the other team going to adapt to that, and am I going to win that? Like, is Denver going to win those little coaching battles? Like, because if you put Bones out there, he can go on a heater and you can increase your advantage, or you're turning the other team's like secondary attackers on and they're the ones going on a heater. Maybe it'll be a trade-off and you'll manage that and it will sort of be even. But I would think about like whenever you put Bones out there, I just feel like it's a bit of a coin flip right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the Nuggets don't have like a ton of options if you bench him, like make the Christian Brown case, I guess. But there's not really a whole lot of guys to kind of slot into like that 8th or 9th spot, even if it's not for a ton of minutes in a playoff rotation.
Well, it's more about like Bones being the only guy coming off the bench who's going to give you like offensive juice. Like there's a lot of like there's a whole bunch of players on the team that are going to improve your defense by coming in, but none of them. He's the only one that's going to be juicing your offense by coming in. So it's a confusing thing because like they've been playing Sean Shar more, for example. They've been playing Zeke Naji more, for example, but none of those players do anything close to what Bones does. They kind of do the opposite. So yeah, I don't know. At least he doesn't have to be on the floor in crunch time when he's like going to be a target.
So that was just our second contender. We have 4 more to talk about, and then we also have the Brooklyn Nets that we just talked about a couple of days ago. So if you want to see our videos on those teams, click right here. That will take you to the most recent one that we uploaded. But other than that, we'll see you next time on the Underhand Free Throw. Thanks for watching.